Welcome back to the Bluechip Breakdown, Vols fans. I'm your host, Bull. And in today's video, we will be breaking down the coaching candidates for Tennessee's two vacancies right now in the linebacker and running backs coach. Tennessee has already interviewed two coaches for the running back spot in Carlos Loughlin, who's the running backs coach at Oregon, and Anthony Jones Jr., who is the running backs coach at TCU. Let's start it off talking about Carlos Loughlin. All right, so looking at Coach Loughlin's coaching career, you can see that he spent a lot of time coaching high school football in the state of Tennessee, which is definitely going to be a very good thing. And then he also coached at the University of Memphis. That's another really good thing for our program. And then he coached at Florida State some. Now, his first on the field job was at Western Kentucky as the running backs coach. And obviously right now he is at Oregon. So up under this, you can see the bowl games and conference championships. Now, what's missing are his bowl games from Oregon. He did participate in the San Diego County Credit Union Bowl back in 2022, where Oregon beat North Carolina 28-27. And in this past season, Oregon beat Liberty 45-6 in the Fiesta Bowl. All right, now as we look at Coach Loughlin as a recruiter, we can see that he's got several 4-stars, which are blue chip players. And a lot of that probably came while he was at Oregon. You've got to keep in mind with all of these coaching candidates that it's very difficult to get blue chip prospects if you're not at a blue chip caliber program. So it looks like he's doing a pretty good job. I also am noticing that there's a lot of Tennessee players on this list: Texas, Washington, DC, California. Those are all places that are hotbeds for talent in football. All right, so the number one thing that I like about Coach Loughlin is he spent a lot of time coaching high school ball in the state of Tennessee. So that's going to be huge. We know that it all starts in state. You've got to be able to lock down the state. I know that he's built some great relationships with coaches across the entire state just from his high school coaching tenure. But he also coached at Memphis. So he's going to know the Memphis area very well. And that's an area that our staff loves to go out and get running backs from. And not just running backs, but a lot of other players. So I think that he can help us out, from that perspective and keeping some good, Memphis area, Tennessee types of players in state, with the big powerhouse school in the University of Tennessee. Now, something else that I've noticed about Coach Loughlin is he tends to only rotate 2 running backs. Now, is that going to be a big deal once he comes to Tennessee? Because we like to rotate 3. I think that it's going to be more so on Coach Heupel and on Coach Halsley to kind of implement or to just kind of like let him know, hey, look, you've only been rotating 2 for the most part, but here at Tennessee, we like to rotate 3. So you're going to have to find your top 3 and also feel like he's going to have a much larger pool of backs to, pull from on this current roster because we've got a stable of some guys that can go. So I think that the, opening is very attractive to anybody that's going to be coming in because of the depth that we have. And we know that Coach Mack did a great job of rotating guys in. And that's a big part of the reason that we have so much really good depth is because he did that. But we have to continue to do that because of how the transfer portal is set up. You've got to get guys out on the field or they're going to leave and they're going to go somewhere else. But again, it also helps you long term because you have players who can earn that experience out there on the field. And I think that that's very, very important. Now, whenever you look at it from a national perspective, this is a coach that is not just going to be able to recruit in the Southeast, but he could also recruit nationally. Being out there at Oregon, he's going to have some relationships built up with some West Coast programs. So it starts in state. Then you want to be able to, go out to your region, which for us would be the Southeast. You need to have a very strong footprint on your region. And you've got to be able to go out and get some of these national guys, from the Midwest, from the Northeast, or from the West Coast sometimes. And I think he can really help us out with that. So I like him as a candidate for those reasons. And again, I do think that he will learn to kind of work within our system, which means that, hey, we're going to be rotating 3 backs. I don't think that that's going to be very much of a big deal at all. All right, so the next coach is Anthony Jones Jr., who is the running backs coach at TCU. He's from Michigan. Let's take a look at his coaching career. You can see some high schools right here. He also coached at Memphis, which is definitely good. Coached at UT Chat. I think that that's good. So he should know Tennessee well. And then you can see some of the other accolades that his teams have had since he was a coach. Now let's go ahead and turn the page to him as a recruiter. And what you're seeing right here is a long list of players, a lot from Texas, Mississippi, some from Tennessee. And I think that that's a really good look. Okay, there's not a whole lot of blue chip players on his resume, but you also have to keep in mind he hasn't really coached at, again, a blue chip caliber program. So it's not that easy to bring in that caliber of player. But he does seem like a guy that definitely gets it. And something else of note is that he was the recruiting coordinator as well as the running backs coach for Memphis from 2018 to 2021. And he had 4 players drafted in a 3-year period. So that is very impressive. Now, he also had Kendre Miller drafted in the 3rd round from TCU, okay? We all know that TCU did go to the national championship back in 22, so he was a part of that. He knows what it takes to get to a national championship. I think that that means a lot for a coach to come in and really players, everybody in your whole organization. You want a whole bunch of winners in there so that everyone's all on the same page. People who know what it takes to get there. It just makes the entire process a lot smoother, I think. But Kendre Miller was also a Doak Walker Award finalist. So that says a lot about the way that this coach can coach these running backs up. If you have someone that, finishes as one of the best running backs in the entire country, that says a lot. So I think that he can recruit, obviously, at a high level. He knows the footprint of what Tennessee usually recruits from in the Southeast, especially in Tennessee, and even more, especially in Memphis. And, I think that he will be a great, great option for our next running backs coach. He's got a good level of experience. And again, guys, like whenever we're talking about these running back coaching options, keep in mind that running back might be the easiest position out of any position on the football field to coach. It's just not that difficult, especially if you've played. If you've played or if you've coached pretty much on any level, it's almost the exact same thing. You're going to be teaching pretty much the exact same stuff, especially if you're talking about going from high school to college. There will be some differences as far as the verbiage and things like that, but I don't think that any of the coaching candidates will have any issues being able to pick up on that. And, I think that they'll be able to teach it at a very high level. Again, those are the 2 candidates that have been interviewed for Tennessee. Now, there are 2 other candidates that Tennessee's been talking to, but I don't know if we've interviewed them just yet. But we are going to go ahead and jump into what they look like as potential candidates for our Vols. All right, so we'll go through these last 2 pretty quickly. The first one is Darrell Sims, who is Cincinnati's running back coach. He's from Union, South Carolina. And we could take a look right here at his coaching history. And there's not any major schools on here, okay? Louisville would be the biggest one. James Madison does have a great program, so don't sleep on, learning from the coaches over there at that program. East Carolina, they're pretty solid for the most part. And, now obviously he's at Cincinnati. Now, when you look at the prospects that he is responsible for recruiting and closing on, they're all 3 stars, but you also have to keep in mind the programs that he's coached at. We touched on this earlier. It is not that easy to bring in blue chip players to non-blue chip caliber programs. So I don't hold that against him, but whenever you look at the states that he is getting these players from, North Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, these are the areas that Tennessee has got to recruit well in. So it does seem like he may be able to recruit, on this staff. And, I think that he'll do a really good job once he is recruiting for Tennessee. I'm telling y'all that Power T holds a whole lot of weight out there on that trail. So I think that he'll be fine from that perspective. All right, and the last running backs coaching candidate we'll be talking about is Jimmy Smith, who is from Darlington, South Carolina. And he spent a lot of time coaching high school ball at Cedar Grove here in Georgia, which is in the Atlanta area. He also coached running backs at Georgia State, and now he is with Arkansas. So the number one thing that stands out to me is that he's going to know the Atlanta area well. You've got to be able to recruit Atlanta at a high clip if you want to have a national championship team. And that's not just for Tennessee, for Georgia, for these Southeastern schools, but I think that goes across the board, across the entire country. There's so much talent here that you've got to come and get some players from the metro Atlanta area or Georgia in general, but really more specifically these days, the metro Atlanta area. There's so much talent. You've got to be able to close out on some players, and you've got to get in good with these high school coaches in this area so that you can continue to get more players funneled into your program. Again, man, I promise y'all, every single program from coast to coast comes to Metro Atlanta to recruit. So that's really, really big. I think he's going to have a very strong, footprint here. And, just that by itself could be a reason to want to hire somebody, especially whenever you're talking about coaching running backs, because we've talked about this, but there's not a whole lot of teaching that goes into it. Almost anybody can coach running backs at a high level, especially if you're going out and getting some blue chip caliber players. That's the biggest thing that we need to be focusing on with these running back coaching candidates. So I really like him for those reasons. Now, he also played at Tennessee from 1998 to 1999, so he's going to know the Nashville area well. Now, Tennessee is number one for us as far as where we're going to start finding prospects at. You've got to take care of your home state first. And I think that he, again, knowing the Nashville area where there's a ton of talent at, there's a lot of Tennessee fans in the Nashville area. And I think that that would also help us out tremendously. All right, now just to kind of wrap up with the running backs coaching candidates, I like all of them, okay? I think that Tennessee did a great job of going out and finding some coaches that, number one, okay, know the Tennessee area well, but also know our recruiting footprint well. And that can come in and, like we keep on saying, can recruit at a high level. Now, I don't know if the running backs coaches are only recruiting running backs. I think that they may be kind of just having an area that they are assigned to, and you've got to do a good job in those areas. So I think that it could be a good thing for the staff if we go out and get Carlos Lachlan, who not only knows our footprint here down in the Southeast, but also knows the West Coast well. He could be a guy that helps us kind of close out more on some West Coast talent. So he may end up being the guy that we choose. Again, I don't know. I'm not on the staff. I'm just speculating, and I'm just bringing to y'all the information that I have so that we can all talk about who would be the best candidates for these openings. And please leave y'all's thoughts down in the comments section. And if you have not already, okay, if you're not new to this channel, or even if you are new to this channel, but if you've been here, okay, if you've watched several videos, please give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. Click that notification bell so that y'all will be notified whenever a new video drops. Now, let's go ahead and switch sides to the other side of the football and talk about our linebacker coaching search. And as of right now, the only real candidate is Roy Manning, who is the outside linebacker and assistant head coach for the USC Trojans. Now, he's from Michigan. He played at Michigan, and he also spent a few seasons in the NFL as a linebacker. So whenever you take a look at his coaching tenure, you're seeing Cincinnati, you're seeing Michigan, you're seeing Washington State, UCLA, and Oklahoma. Those are all some pretty big programs. What I really love about him, though, is that he's coached different positions. So running back, outside linebacker, cornerback, and even special teams. I think that that speaks volumes about how versatile he can be as a coach. But let's take a look and see what he's done as a recruiter. And you can see that there are several blue chip players from coast to coast. I think that he would be a huge addition to the staff, literally just for his recruiting prowess at this level. Now, USC did not have the best defense this past season, but I do think that Roy Manning will be able to teach the linebackers how to play the correct way. And there's kind of like two ends of the spectrum whenever you're talking about how linebackers play. There's either the, hey, see ball, get ball with absolutely no thinking. And then on the other side, there's we're going to overanalyze and overprocess everything and make sure that whatever steps we take is in the right direction. I think that it needs to be a little bit in the middle, but maybe leaning more towards being a hunter and see ball, get ball. Whenever you watch the NFL, they all play very fast. They're up close to the line of scrimmage. As soon as the ball is snapped, they identify the plays very quickly. Now, is that more of their instincts? Is that why they made it to that level? Is it because they're just really fast? Or is it because they're able to process things really quickly? It's going to vary, obviously, from player to player. But again, just for me personally, I would lean more towards we want for these guys to be aggressive and do, I wouldn't say as little thinking as possible, because you have to be able to think, because there's going to be, we saw what Florida did to us. We saw what, some other teams did to us. You've got to be able to process. But I want our guys hunting. I want them playing downhill. If you're going to make a mistake, make it 100 miles an hour. That's the philosophy that I like. And I'm hoping that whatever linebackers coach Tennessee gets has that same type of philosophy. But Roy Manning is going to do great at recruiting, and we saw that. I mean, he's going to know how to go into pretty much any area in the entire country, and he's going to have some connections there, which is great for this entire staff. But it's also because he played in the league. These young players want to be coached by someone who has either been to the league playing or as a coach, or just some type of way you've been a part of the NFL. That's huge. And I think that their parents or guardians, whoever is helping them decide on what school to go to, that's going to be probably the biggest factor out of everything. So I would love to be able to close out on Coach Manning for those reasons. I think that he would be, again, a great addition to the staff. Now, as far as the linebacker coaching search, he's the only one. I don't know if we've even interviewed him up to this point, but he's the only one that I see that is a realistic candidate at this point. So that search may kind of go into next week. I do think that we kind of want to wrap up both searches, maybe, at least like a week before spring practice. I would say the sooner the better, so that these coaches can get acclimated to our system that they're going to have to teach to our players. Now, as far as with the running back coaching search, sounds like we're trying to find somebody by the end of this week. So things should be moving here pretty quickly. And don't be surprised if in the next couple of days, we have our guy or gal. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing who it's going to end up being. And thank y'all so much for staying all the way to the end. I hope that y'all enjoyed this video. As always, please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans. And we'll see y'all in the next one. Thanks. Peace.